guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be starting a new series called Incarnation by Adam Hamilton. We're going to be talking about Advent and the Advent season. And with that being said, today we're going to be starting our first session. Our first session is called Presidents and Kings. And with that being said, let's get right to it. The Magi who visited Jesus as a child referred to him as the newborn king. When Jesus entered Jerusalem, the Sunday before his death, a crowd welcomed him as a long-awaited ruler. Still today, we refer to Jesus as a king, lord, or a prince. But what does this mean? We'll examine this question and more as we go through the session, which is going to be simple enough. Another title we use for Jesus is Messiah. The word Messiah, like the word Christ, literally means anointed one. A Messiah was a person anointed or set apart by God for a certain purpose. Now, what do you think it means to be a Messiah, right? Can anyone be a Messiah? Or is it something that you have to have family connections to be? A lot of people have tried, but we know that to be a Messiah, you have to be chosen. You have to be the one, the main one. And God chose Christ. That is a Messiah. That is someone who came down to save us. Now, I'm going to list off some scriptures that you guys can read on your own time. But they talk about anointed. So here's Exodus 30, or chapter 30, verse 22 through 32. 1 Samuel, chapter 10, verse 1. 1 Samuel again, chapter 16, verse 1 through 13. And Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 1 through 2. So, all of these are examples from the Old Testament. Many Jewish people in Jesus' day would have been familiar with the stories of these people. When they heard the word Messiah, they would have thought of people like this. So, in the Old Testament, the Messiah was someone who would rise up, be their new king, lead them to a new world, a better world. And that's what they were expecting Jesus to do, to overthrow the government, to make things a better life for them physically. But that's not exactly what Jesus did, is it? So how is Jesus similar to and different from the person described in these scriptures? Now, we already talked a little bit about it, but number one is that he wasn't violent. He was a non-violent person. Yeah, there was times where he would show his rage, but he's never really hurt anyone. Nowadays, major political leaders spend several months campaigning in the hopes that citizens will elect them. Some spend almost as much time on the campaign trails as they do in office. Depending on when you watch this, we just had our election not too long ago, and this seems to correlate. Jesus didn't have to campaign for the role of Messiah, but he did have to show people why he was God's anointed. This was a big risk. People in Jesus' day had a wide range of beliefs about Messiah. Some weren't expecting a Messiah at all. Many of those who did expect a Messiah assumed that this person would resemble David, who had been Israel's greatest king and great military leader. So, we're going to talk about some information about Jesus, like how he was, some of the things he did, and just follow along. Jesus was a descendant of King David, Israel's greatest king. Jesus' family was neither wealthy nor powerful. Jesus often clashed with religious leaders. Jesus healed those who were sick and injured. Jesus grew up in Nazareth, a small town in the middle of nowhere. Jesus was born in Bethlehem, the city of David. Jesus traveled with a group of committed disciples and attracted a large following. Jesus was a traveling teacher and healer with no political or military experience. Jesus fed large crowds with limited resources. The Roman government considered Jesus a threat to his authority and had him executed. Jesus died a humiliating death on the cross. Jesus rose from the dead and appeared to his disciples. While Jesus was the descendant of David, born in Bethlehem, and performed amazing miracles, he is not the Messiah for any of these reasons. He is the Messiah because of the sacrifice he made on our behalf, because of the hope we have in resurrection, and because of the relationship he continues to have with us. We call Jesus our King and our Messiah. He is a king because he rules in God's kingdom. He is a Messiah because he makes God's kingdom a reality. Often we think of God's kingdom as something we'll experience when Christ returns in the future. But there's more to it. So if you can, this one we will be reading. So Luke 17, verse 20 to 21 says, Once Jesus was asked by the Pharisees when the kingdom of God was coming, and he answered, The kingdom of God is not coming with things that can be observed, nor will they say, Look, here it is, or there it is, for in fact, the kingdom of God is among you. Right, okay, simple enough. Well, now we are going to read Matthew 6, verse 9 through 13. So here it is, Matthew 6, verse 9 through 13. Some of you may know this one. It's a well-known passage. Pray then in this way, Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And do not bring us to the time of trial, but rescue us from the evil one. So we just read the Lord's Prayer. What do you think it means? What do you think it says when it says, Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven? Personally, I think that means that let God's will be done. The good things, everything that God has a plan for, just step aside and let it happen. At least that's what it sounds to me. God's kingdom is not something we have to wait for. We can make God's kingdom a reality here and now through our words, actions, and relationships. In God's kingdom, God, the one true King, makes all things right. Think about what God's kingdom should look like. What would the world look like if there were no more hate or injustice? Now, this one is a good question. What do you think the world would look like? The perfect world. To some, it might be equal money to everyone. To others, it would be never-ending excitement. To some, it might be no diseases, no physical impairments. What do you think? Take some time, jot it down, or put it down in the comments, whichever you prefer. But what do you think the perfect world would look like? So, how do you see examples of God's kingdom in our world today? What are some examples? This can include people or groups who are working to bring hope and fight injustice. People and groups who have found the strength to forgive one another, or people who have been healed and made whole. What sort of things can you do to make God's kingdoms a reality? What sort of things could you do? Totally depends on you. What are some things you want to change? What is one thing you learned during our time together that you didn't know before? Before we leave, what are some things you've learned? Maybe you didn't learn anything new, and hopefully that's not the case. But in case you did learn something new, feel free to just say it out loud, write it down, write it in the comments, whatever you want. But I want to thank you for being here today. I appreciate every one of you, each one of you. I can see you. No, I can't. But I hope you have a great day, and I hope I see you next time. Until then, have a good one.